Hey, everybody, welcome back. My name is Mike, and in today's blogcast, we're going to explore a pivotal question. Is it time for disruption in the consulting industry? Let's dive into how myopia can be an innovator's worst enemy. A decade ago, McKinsey foresaw a need for change in consulting. They predicted a shift towards more agile, value-driven, and cost-effective approaches. The McKinsey article on disrupting consulting focuses on rethinking traditional business models in the face of digital disruption. It emphasizes the need for companies to challenge and overturn long-standing industry beliefs by proposing radically new hypotheses. For instance, it suggests considering scenarios like a financial services provider moving IT to the cloud to reduce costs, or questioning the necessity of owning infrastructure in various industries. The article outlines a systematic approach to innovating in different areas of business. In customer relationships, it suggests shifting from a focus on loyalty to empowering customers. This includes enabling customers to make more informed decisions using digital tools and reducing reliance on traditional loyalty programs. In terms of activities, the emphasis is on moving from simply being efficient to becoming intelligent. Regarding resources, there's a shift from the traditional model of ownership to one of access. This reflects a broader societal trend towards collaborative consumption and open source models. The article cites examples like PeerBuy, Uber, and Adobe Systems, where accessing assets or services is more efficient and cost-effective than owning them. Overall, the McKinsey article advocates for a digital transformation across various aspects of business, encouraging companies to rethink and reframe their existing models to stay competitive and relevant in a rapidly changing digital landscape. This approach is not just about adopting new technologies, but also about fundamentally altering how businesses interact with customers, manage operations, and utilize resources. Clayton Christensen highlighted a paradox. Successful companies often fail by focusing solely on high-margin customers and neglecting emerging disruptive innovations. The paradox of success, as described by Clayton Christensen, revolves around the idea that successful companies can fail precisely because of the practices that made them successful. This concept is central to his theory of disruptive innovation. In his analysis, Christensen observes that successful companies tend to focus on what he calls sustaining innovations. These are improvements that cater to the most profitable customers by making good products better. However, this focus can blind them to the emergence of disruptive technologies or business models that initially target less demanding customers with cheaper, simpler solutions. Over time, these disruptive innovations improve and start appealing to the mainstream market, by which time the established companies find it difficult to compete or adapt because they are so deeply invested in their existing products, customers, and business models. This creates a paradox where the very factors that have driven a company's success, like listening to existing customers and focusing on profit margins, become the reasons for its downfall in the face of disruptive change. Christensen's paradox of success is a cautionary tale for businesses, highlighting the importance of being aware of and responsive to emerging market trends and technologies, even if they don't initially seem to align with the company's current business model or customer base. Tony Alwick's insights bring us to a crucial realization. Leading users don't always represent the broader market. This understanding is key as we rethink our approach to innovation. In his article, Beware of Lead Users, he discusses the pitfalls of relying heavily on lead users for innovation insights. It argues that lead users who are at the forefront of market trends and needs do not always represent the broader customer base. Their advanced needs and usage patterns can mislead companies into developing solutions that are too specialized and do not address the needs of the average user. This focus on lead users may result in missing opportunities for more widely applicable and successful innovations. Companies today need strategic answers quickly, inexpensively, and accurately. This demand shapes our discussion on how to revolutionize our offerings. When competing on price, we must ask, does the market perceive our value correctly? Are we selling solutions or just activities? Increasingly, if not always, consulting firms are competing on price whether they want to believe it or not. While focusing on perfecting the individual performances, they neglect to see that the performance theater is not what their customers see as differentiation. If they did, they wouldn't be asking for discounts. It doesn't matter if a project still costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. When you're leveraging your human resources, any reduction in price or perceived value puts undue pressure on your margins. Let's shift our focus to the sprint toward implementation. It's crucial to understand that while developing strategies is vital, the true value lies in their rapid and effective execution. We need to keep in mind that this is what consulting firms want. It's not necessarily what customers want. The fact that there's downward pressure on the pricing of delivery resources should provide ample evidence that we're simply not framing the problem properly. That's somewhat ironic since these firms all claim to be problem-solving experts. Perhaps more disruptive concepts and innovation should be considered. Leveraging human resources is not a very scalable business model. Sure, companies and firms do this out of necessity. However, emerging capabilities afford us the opportunity to think about this differently, if we're so inclined. Let's consider a broader market approach, including the underserved segments, and how it can redefine our growth path. As I've already mentioned, customers want results faster and cheaper. This includes work that has traditionally been considered to be owned by experts. This individual performer focus has done very, very well for individuals. Their clients, however, probably haven't benefited as much, at least not in the long term. PowerPoint slides are a wonderful social object at your next performance review, but results matter. More importantly, outcomes matter. And to achieve them, we simply need to think differently. Our clients seek quick, effective solutions, not lengthy projects. We need to constantly evaluate ways to offer outcomes, not sell products. In an environment of individual performers, they will always see themselves as innovative. How can I tell? Because they are constantly using that word to describe themselves. However, customers clearly don't see them that way, or they'd be happy to cut checks without all the haggling. Digital solutions that address multiple needs simultaneously can be a game changer. So let's discuss how we can align our offerings with what customers truly want. When we look at this problem through the lens of jobs theory, it becomes clear that organizations have objectives just like people do. And the concept of an organization is to align multiple functional groups together in order to support that mission. Yet, we often see these functional groups acting independently, which means the organization is cobbling together solutions to get the job done. Quite often, there is very poor integration of these solutions, and the older and larger the organization, the worse it has generally become. We're supposed to be making improvements, but the various lenses that are applied are generally solution-focused, and therefore, 1, groups are often in conflict with each other, and 2, they are working in an ever-changing landscape of solutions. It's just impossible to keep up. And this keeps knowledge workers too busy to imagine a different way of doing things. In fact, they're heavily invested in the current way. If we cast our gaze further down the value chain, it becomes clear why companies hire consulting firms. They're all competing for growth, and they want to find ways to outperform their competition. At this point, we need to think long and hard about going out into the market and selling our methodology. No matter how hard you try, it's going to be copied. Therefore, my suggestion is that we need to stop selling the thing that takes forever to get done and costs a fortune, in favor of selling the result we claim a company will get from executing our methodology. All we need to do is figure out how to automate it, or at least accelerate it. By creating a service that delivers outcomes, or at least actionable roadmaps and dynamic analytical tools, our clients can compete with confidence, speed, and efficiency. They can also address more problems with the same budget. Many digital transformation experts think the solution is digital. Ask me how I know. That may have seemed like the case back in the 1990s, but in today's competitive environment, it's probably more about using digital capabilities to deliver value further down the chain. Instead of doing things, we interact with our new digital capabilities to unlock value that would have historically required even more activities, if they ever occurred at all. In a world where product launches continue to fail at ridiculously high rates, there shouldn't be much debate that the more we can do to eliminate the variability associated with activities and their outputs, the more confidence we'll have in the process, and the more attention we can focus downstream. In a perfect world, a process will have a trigger and an output. As I look at all of the self-proclaimed innovators out there, it's clear we don't even agree on the process. But if we take a process that we know from data works 5 times better than other processes and automate it, then we simply point to the output and ask people to measure the success it affords us. A system that can produce a consistent and scalable output is more valuable than a bunch of people running around trying to sound smart. While the steps in the process may still be there, they are obfuscated by the system that has been automated. So when we use things today like Spotify, we don't often think about everything we used to have to do to listen to music. Streaming services help us to solve more of our jobs in more contexts. Imagine if the same could be said for getting answers to our key growth questions. Everyone tends to think their problems are unique, but the reality is that what makes them seem unique is the fact that we are all using different solutions, methods, or processes to get a result. The real question is, what are you trying to accomplish by using that solution, method, or process? If we can determine that, it'll become clear that they are trying to get a job done. There are a lot of common jobs in enterprises, and you can break them down further to find differences across industries and subsectors, but they will still be common in the industry. If we shift our focus to this new version of the problem space, we can begin to see the future because the problem space frame will tend not to change over the long term, nor will the measures of success. Only the solutions will change. If we're able to leverage digital tools to eliminate time and cost, as well as improve accuracy and scalability, we can imagine a completely new set of outputs or artifacts to help companies accelerate down the strategic path to growth. The critical aspect of this capability will be to reduce our reliance on leveraging resources and increase our reliance on leveraging intellectual property. Companies like Uber and Airbnb are not only competing directly for market share against traditional services, they are expanding the market to pull in people that would otherwise not be able to A, afford a vacation or a taxi, and B, find a place to stay or a ride when there was a surge in demand. And these companies do this without having to invest in resources and can also avoid many of the constraints and regulations imposed on the traditional services. Are we stealing market share, or are we really creating a new market? Recall that we are redefining what a market is in the first place. Since our definition of a market is stable over time, this market actually existed well into the past. As Clay Christensen pointed out, disruption will occur from the low end of the market participants that had opted not to purchase the current solutions due to price or time constraints. But if we leverage our new capabilities, we can address those constraints by creating a solution that is fast, easy, cheap, and scalable. While there is still that little sliver available for the theatrical companies, it'll probably shrink as companies realize they can get more done with their budgets by leveraging the new way. This will likely come once they see all of the smaller companies nipping at their heels because of the new access to competitive insights. It doesn't matter if they are perfect insights or extremely high fidelity insights. They only need to be good enough to point them in the right direction quickly, so they no longer have to make poor investments and embrace concepts like fail fast to justify their lack of success. Nothing happens overnight, nor should it. Some companies will not embrace things like AI in the near term and will continue to invest in bespoke consulting performances. However, we can enable current teams with new capabilities that allow them to be smaller and more nimble when working with enterprise clients on bespoke projects. This is a nice blend of old and new and will help us learn more about the capability and inspire confidence in a whole new audience. Ultimately, we shift our focus from attacking consulting to attacking research companies like Gartner, who don't have access to the kind of forward-looking data that comes from jobs to be done research. If I were to draw a Venn diagram, we would see an overlap between consulting and research work, so the market is very much larger than just companies that buy strategy consulting. To sum things up, the Firm 2.0 concept represents a paradigm shift, leveraging AI, focusing on digital scalability, and addressing broader market segments. My goal is to transform consulting into a more value-added, efficient, and client-centric service that doesn't require any strategy consulting at all. For the foreseeable future, consulting around implementation and cultural change will still be relevant, but even technology systems consulting will be under pressure to adapt to emerging capabilities using AI to design and possibly configure the enabling solutions. These are interesting times. Thanks for listening.